It's time.
All right, we're ready? All right, it's 6 o'clock, so let's go ahead and call this meeting to order, the Edgefield County Council on November the 12th, 2024. Appreciate everybody being here tonight. Appreciate Doc fixing the clock. So we'll begin with the invocation, which I will lead, and then we'll follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance. And so if everyone will please stand. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the many blessings you pour out upon us, and thank you for every opportunity you give us every day, Lord. Your blessings are certainly needed for every part of our lives. And Lord, we ask you to guide us in the work we'll do tonight and even when we're not here in this meeting, Lord. Give us strength in our convictions and mercy in our decisions. And in your holy name we pray. Amen. Amen. Please join us for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. All right, Council, next is the approval of the agenda. I have no recommendations on any changes. Does anybody else have anything on the agenda they need to move around? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
I believe Mr. Talbert made the motion, and I would say Dr. Kenyon seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed, motion passes unanimously. Next, Council, we have 3 sets of minutes. I'll take them each individually just in case there's any changes. So the first, September 18, 2024, call meeting minutes. Any changes or comments on those minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the September 18th minutes?
So moved.
Okay, Mr. Moody makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Ireland seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed, motion passes unanimously. The next minutes are September 27, 2024, call meeting minutes. Any questions or comments on those minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the September 27th minutes? Dr. Kenyon makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Ireland seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed, motion passes unanimously. And finally, the October 8th, 2024 regular meeting minutes. Any questions or comments on those minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the October 8th minutes?
So moved.
Second. Mr. Talbert makes the motion, and Mr. Moody seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed, motion passes unanimously. Next, Council, is our comments from the public, the first public comment section. I'll ask our clerk if anyone has signed up.
No, sir.
Okay, Council, since nobody has signed up, we will close the public comment period and move on to reports. Council, any questions or comments on the reports? Okay, hearing none, we'll move into our public hearings. We have 3 of them tonight. The first one is on ordinance 24-25-003, an ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a special source revenue credit agreement by and between Edgefield County, South Carolina, and Portland Bolt and Manufacturing Company, LLC, and Southern Anchor Bolt Company, previously identified as Project Trailblazer, acting for itself, one or more affiliates, and other project sponsors to provide certain infrastructure with respect to the establishment and/or expansion of certain facilities in the county, authorizing certain infrastructure credits, and other matters related thereto. So with that, Council, I will open up the public hearing on that ordinance. Is there anyone here to speak on that? Please come up and introduce yourself.
You bet. Hi, it's a pleasure to be here tonight. I'm Jeff Hankerson. I'm the Chief Financial Officer of Portland Bolt. We are a 112-year-old manufacturing company based in Portland, Oregon. When you look at a map of the United States, there's few places farther apart than Portland, Oregon and Edgefield County. That's exactly why we're so excited about this project here. We serve a lot of customers over on the East Coast, down in the South, and so this just gives us the better opportunity to serve our customers. I just want to take a few minutes to thank Chairman Campbell, Councilman Moody, in particular, for your support on the project. Also, Doc, who's one of the first few people we met to get this project started, as well as Will Williams, who's not here tonight. And lastly, I want to thank Leslie. Leslie is Southern Anchor Bolt, and her family will be our partners throughout this entire project. And so really, I just wanted to take a few minutes and thank the council for your support and tell you how excited we are to be part of this community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. And for those who follow college football, an Oregon Duck. So he's very happy with his team right now, as he should be. Okay, is there anyone else here to comment in the public hearing of that ordinance? Okay, hearing none, we will close that public hearing, council, and move to the second public hearing, which is ordinance number 24-25002, an ordinance authorizing entering into a multi-county industrial park agreement with Aiken County for Portland Bolton Manufacturing Company, LLC, a company previously identified as Project Trailblazer. Is anyone here to speak on that ordinance in this public hearing? Okay, hearing none, council will close that public hearing and move to the last public hearing. This is for Resolution 24-250004, a resolution for the 5-year update of the Edgefield County Comprehensive Plan. Is there anyone here to speak on that resolution? Okay, hearing none, council, I will close the public hearing section and move on to old business. Item 1, I'm not going to read that one again. I just read that title under the first public hearing. So I will ask the administrator if there's anything new or different since our second reading.
There's no new information.
Okay, so nothing has changed. Council, any questions or comments on this ordinance? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to give third reading to ordinance number 24-25003?
So moved.
Mr. Moody makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Talbert seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed, motion passes unanimously. Next, under old business number 2, again, I read this in the public hearings. I'm not going to read the title again. It's the Multi-County Industrial Park. I'll ask the administrator, anything new or different on this one since our second reading?
There's no new information.
Okay. Council, any questions or comments on this ordinance? Okay. Hearing none, is there a motion to give third reading to ordinance number 24-25002?
So moved.
And Ms. Ireland makes the motion. Is there a second? And Mr. Moody seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed, motion passes unanimously. Next, council, we go to new business, and under new business, the first item is discussion of emergency medical services, equipment, ambulances, facility needs, and general cost. The administrator has a presentation on this, so I will turn this over to him.
Council, thank you for letting me talk about the EMS financial needs today. Very little of this presentation in broad concepts will come as a surprise to you. We've talked about EMS's financial needs in, I think, the last 2 budget workshops that we've had. Council has made EMS a priority for our 2027 strategic vision. And council has also asked me to have a needs study done for EMS. But we want to dig down into the numbers just a little bit and define the problem for you. So, our current finances and future needs for EMS. We didn't like that. Okay, so remember our strategic plan. We did this a couple of years ago, and we outlined, I think, 8 different projects or broad themes that council would place priorities on. And the number 1 priority was to enhance emergency medical services. So there were, I believe, 3 different categories council wanted us to work on. The first was to determine ways to reduce response time. Improve radio communication. Well, the long-awaited emergency radio system will be complete in December. We believe, and hope. We wanted to add a quick response vehicle. This would be an SUV that could respond to calls quickly. This is sort of a stopgap between a 4th ambulance. And we added that summer of 2023. Based on response time, determine the most appropriate location for an additional station using call history. Our goal was to do this in 2023. Well, the area around the industrial park is ideal, in our opinion, and in the opinion of Mosley Architects. They conducted a needs study that confirmed this location, and they recommended a design of what a new headquarters building would look like, what needs it would need to accommodate. I think this was done early 2024. So number 2 was to study an expansion of facilities. This follows up on the Mosley project. We needed to order an additional ambulance to have 4 in service for the future. The one we ordered actually replaced one that we just needed to replace. So the one that could replace a 4th one would be ordered soon. So there's 1 new ambulance due March of 2025. 1 remount just arrived, and 1 remount is on order now. We wanted to identify property for a new station. Again, this was based on call volume, and I'll show you a map in just a few minutes that shows that. Again, Mosley Architects, they did agree based on call volumes and locations with the industrial park area, not necessarily in the industrial park, but in that area. That is just a parcel of property that we have some interest in. Develop funding sources for construction of a new station. We'll make recommendations on some ideas for funding a new station very soon. And then construct a new station if feasible, 2025 to 2027. Number 3 was attract and retain paramedics and EMTs. Based on study, implement changes to retain EMS employees. In 2023, we increased pay grades for paramedics, followed by step, merit, and COLA increases in 2024. Ensure that pay and benefits are competitive with adjacent counties, and we are currently competitive thanks to council approving those increases. So, on to the EMS needs study. Earlier this year, council directed administration to have a needs study for EMS done by Mosley Architects, primarily concerning facility needs. The result of this study was a proposed location of a new facility based on calls for service and the composition of the new facility, what features it would need to contain for future growth and current needs. So first, let's talk about how EMS is funded right now. As council knows, EMS is in a special revenue fund. It's not part of the general fund. Well, in 2023, 2024, revenue from EMS for EMS was $2,219,000. Expenses were $2,580,000. It's a little bit of a math problem there. Expenses are overrunning revenues. So EMS is funded with, and these percentages apply to the actual expenses. 48% from a special revenue tax millage of 12.7 mils. Miscellaneous state taxes, these are things like motor carrier taxes, about 2%. Insurance and private pay, 25%. Medicare, 9%. Medicaid, 1%. And a shortfall equaling 14%, or $361,000 for last budget year. We don't just have a shortfall. Something has to make up for that shortfall. In the past, our collections exceeded expenses for a number of years, and then about the time a 3rd ambulance crew was added, that dynamic started to change. Well, we have now exhausted all of that fund. So we spent $361,000 more than we took in, and that fund is in the hole about $320,000. So what does this revenue pay for? It pays for salaries, it pays for benefits, state retirement, it pays for the employer portion of insurance, our portion of Social Security, FICA. It pays for operations, for training, for uniforms, contracts, and supplies. It doesn't pay for a building, it pays for maintenance of a building, the utilities that we have there. It pays for fuel and vehicle maintenance, but it does not pay for new or remounted ambulances or durable medical equipment. These are extra. And that begs the question, how have we in the past paid for ambulances and medical equipment? Well, in the past, the EMS Special Revenue Fund had an overage of collections. That is no longer the case. Inflation and a third ambulance has caused us to go beyond that. Vehicle bonds, which would be paid back from debt service millage, various grants, federal funds like the American Rescue Plan, assistance from the hospital, they helped us with one ambulance, and the general fund. So these options are either unavailable now and unsustainable, and I want to go through the list and tell you why. Well, number one, the EMS Special Revenue Fund is in the red. Vehicle bonds require the ability for us to pay them back, and we're in the red. That would require the increase in a debt service millage. Well, that just obligates you to make the payments for the actual vehicle plus interest. I don't believe that's a good sustainable way to do it. Grants, we apply actively for grants, and this year we received $7,900 out of a $2.5 million budget. Federal funds, we are exhausting the remainder of the American Rescue Plan Fund, if council approves it tonight, further down in new business, for some equipment for EMS, but then that well runs dry, it's done. Assistance from the hospital, this is from the funds managed by the old hospital board, and that is a very limited pool of money. We do appreciate them helping us with that ambulance, and we may petition them again, but that well again will run dry very soon. And the general fund, we're already going to be obligated to cover the shortfall for EMS. We can't fund another ambulance from general fund. So what are our future needs? We currently operate 3 ambulances 24/7 and 1 QRV, which is 12 hours per day. When call volumes reach 4,000, we need to add a 4th ambulance. Call volumes are projected to reach 3,850 this year. The cost of a 4th ambulance will be about $350,000, and it will have approximately a 5-year life because of mileage. Now, all is not lost. You don't have to replace it with a brand new ambulance. You can do a remount where the box is put on a new cab and chassis, and it's refurbished for about half the price. But half the price is still $175,000. Personnel to operate an ambulance 24/7 is about $700,000 a year. That's salary and benefits. Durable medical equipment for that ambulance will be about $130,000. Now it has about a 10-year lifespan, so it would be okay through the new ambulance and then the remount, likely. But those are big numbers there, and we are at the cusp of needing to add a 4th ambulance. So on average, Edgefield County EMS has a 12-minute response from the time the call is dispatched until the ambulance arrives on scene. The national average is 9 minutes. So a headquarters building. The current EMS headquarters is on Star Road, built in the 90s. It lacks room for expansion. It has no room for the Emergency Management Agency. It has inadequate training facilities. It houses 2 ambulances and a QRV. Spares are parked outdoors. The second station is shared space in the Meriwether Fire Department. There is no expansion room for a second ambulance. Based on call distribution, call volume, and space needs, we believe that it is time to construct a new headquarters in or near the industrial park. Adding the location and a fourth ambulance will, we believe, reduce call times. So if you just take a look at this map of the county, obviously, we have two yellow highlighted ambulances. The first in the center is the Star Road location. And then down at the bottom, you have the Meriwether location. The non-highlighted ambulance is where we would propose that area to put a new station, should we build it. And you can see the density of green dots. Those are calls over the years 2022 and 2023. It just gives you a good idea of where the call densities are. We believe this new location would really serve the 25 corridor and be able to assist the other areas. The distribution of ambulances would be subject to call volumes. You may not have the majority of them at the headquarters. They may be at a substation. But that would all be driven by call volumes. So this is a mock-up that Mosley did. You can see the bays on the right, sort of an aerial view of that. And that's another. And then this is what I'd like to talk to you about. This is sort of their idea of what we would need to satisfy the needs for EMS now and in the future. Looking at this as a T, the blue area on the left is the bays. That's the bays that the ambulances would be kept in. We would probably be taking the one to the far left off, but that would leave 6 spots for ambulances. That would allow us to obviously get all of our spares out of the weather on chargers, ready to go should there be an incident or one of the current ambulances go down. The bottom of the T in green, those are sleeping quarters with bathrooms in the middle. You would go up to laundry facilities and over on the bottom of the right T to a common area, day room for the ambulance crews. The middle and upper part would be extra office space and offices for the supervisors. And then the right side of the T, starting at the far right, that would be the public reception area, the public entrance, with the EMS director, the training officer, and the EMA supervisor's offices, and then another office space for another EMA person. We do have a part-timer that we're so happy was working with us during this last storm. And then at the top, in pink, we have an EOC, an Emergency Operations Center. I think council is probably aware of why a new modern EOC would be beneficial to Edgefield County. Foster did very well with an EOC in a 1930s block building. That is shared space with NRCS, Clemson Extension. It's not set up to be an immediately functional EOC. But he did a great job with it, but that's not what this county needs. And then the baby blue area is a large training facility. So Mosley, as they interviewed staff, they came up with this floor plan and proposals for space needs for now and in the future. I think they did a very good job with it. There are probably some small areas we can cut to reduce cost on it, but overall it's a great looking facility. So the highlights of it is it's around 14,000 square feet. There's room for 6 ambulances, 2 active, 2 spares, 2 for growth. Modern sleeping quarters for 10, bathrooms, kitchen, common area. Large training area where the training materials can be left out and they can be readily available there. Be much more efficient than what we have now. Nice sized conference room. A dedicated emergency operations center. located to respond to the 3 highest call volume areas at a cost we estimate of $5 to $6 million. So that's our projection of the future needs. So to summarize and to bring this all back in, last year we had a shortfall of $361,000. Now council just took some action to reduce that. Council approved transferring another mill from debt service to EMS. That's worth about $110,000, so that will certainly help a bit. As I said, we're close to hitting the number of calls to trigger a need for a 4th ambulance. That's coming, and it could be stationary for a bit, or it could drastically go up. There are some things we could do, like possibly add one for half of a day or increase our QRV, but it's coming. There's no getting around it. This county's growing, and it's coming quickly. We need a 3rd location based on call distribution, call volumes, and response times. We need a 3rd location to house a 4th ambulance, including the crew quarters, and to get our spare ambulances out of the weather. We need to have an adequate working space for our EMA and have a permanent EOC ready to go in an emergency. We need to establish reliable and consistent funding for ambulances and equipment. Remember, we don't have that. I won't say we rob, but we beg and borrow to fund EMS equipment right now, and it's not satisfactory. And we just need to adequately fund the EMS. Questions?
Let me ask one that I had. So we, of course, just transferred a month or 2 ago the millage you're talking about. I think we transferred millage again, wasn't it a year or 2 ago we transferred some?
1.3 mills over a year ago, and 1 mill just recently in September.
And that was just a transfer. We didn't raise taxes, we just transferred it.
From debt service. Of course, transferring from debt service, those are the funds you would use to pay vehicle bonds back. So there's no getting around it. It's going to cost us one way or the other. We can add millage for debt service, or we can adequately fund EMS, but.
And correct me if I'm wrong, and again, my memory's not that good, but let's see. So I've been on council 14 years, and other than those 2 transfers, I don't recall any increase in the EMS millage or anything over that time.
I'm not aware of any.
And I'm not aware of any time before, although they could have certainly increased it at some point. But my fear is hadn't been done in over 20 years, and everything else has gotten more expensive, and that really hasn't. But all right. So I guess I'm getting to a question here. Let me go back to one of your slides here. So I'm guessing what I just laid out is at least one of the reasons for this $361,000 shortfall, that the EMS program has had to grow and growing in a way it should, but the revenue has not kept up with it.
That is correct. We've had to grow. We've added a 4th ambulance. We've a 3rd ambulance. That added a 3rd crew. We added a half-day QRV and 2 employees to operate that. And we've had to fight the salary battles with our surrounding communities. We've just had to do it to keep a professional emergency medical services going. And that's not going to end. We can't go back. And the needs are going to continue to grow.
Okay. Other questions from council?
I see you said earlier that we're gonna, where would the new station be if feasible?
We believe the area around the industrial park, that lower part of the 25 corridor would be a good place to put it, based on our needs. If it worked out to put it within the industrial park, that would be great, as we do own some property there and have options on some. Y'all know that there's issues with that a bit, but there are other options in that area as well.
If there are no other questions, so, so this is kind of like what I'll call part one. Maybe it's part 10. We've been talking this for a while, but we'll call it part one. This is how the expense side looks. So maybe in the December meeting, you can bring us perhaps a presentation on the revenue side. How do you pay for all this? What are some options that we could look at, just so we'd have some options to start talking about?
I'll be glad to.
Okay, is that good with council? Just to get some options out there. Let's see. Okay,
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
thank you. All right, that was new business number one. Under new business number two, consideration of approval to proceed with engineering and permitting for the Star Park project. Again, I'll ask our administrator for some details on this one, please.
So I got to completely switch gears here because I'm happy to report that we have received adequate funding for Star Park. We all sort of agreed that recreation would also be a priority within our strategic plan, and sort of got the idea that maybe we could build us a nice park without dipping into the general fund so much, that maybe there were opportunities out there to acquire some money to do that. Well, we were fortunate to have received a $500,000 Land and Water Conservation Fund grant. We do have the match for that grant that is basically accumulated interest from another account. It would not touch the general fund. And because of the efforts of our legislative delegation, we received a $750,000 state appropriation. So we believe now is the time to move forward with the engineering and permitting for this park. We can't send it out for bid to know exactly what it's going to cost until we do those things. And there are also opportunities that, well, perhaps we have enough money to build the whole thing outright, but if not, there is a phased approach that we can take with it. So we're asking council to approve us going forward with engineering and permitting for this park, and Cranston is our contracted engineering firm now. That's all.
Thank you. Questions from council? All right. So it looks like, based on the money, there's nothing you could do with it anyway except this project. You can't use it anywhere else to do anything. It's earmarked for this, at least two of the items. The match is too, but.
Yes, that's
So,
true.
Okay. Council, is there a motion to approve proceeding with the engineering and permitting for Star Park?
So moved.
Ms. Arlen makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Moody seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed, motion passes unanimously. Next is number three, under new business, consideration of approval for premium pay for employees who work the week immediately following Hurricane Helene. The amount allocated would be $600 for those employees who work full-time and $300 for those who work part-time. Employees must have worked as assigned by their supervisor. So I'll ask the administrator if he'll explain this one, please.
Yes, we're asking council to approve this pay for employees who put forth such incredible effort in filling needs outside of their normal duties in the week after Hurricane Helene. Most employees will qualify. There were some on previously scheduled leave or vacations, and they were out of the area. There were some caring for vulnerable family members, but the vast majority of our employees were able to come to work and did. Ultimately, this money will be refunded to the salary accounts once we receive FEMA reimbursement, but we thought it appropriate to give this gesture to employees at this time without waiting 8 months or so until we might get FEMA reimbursement. That's all.
Questions or comments from council?
I have no problem with it.
I think it's a great idea to
It is.
reward them. I wish it could be more, but I know there are limits. But, okay, if there are No other questions or comments from council? Is there a motion to approve this premium pay for employees as the administrator has outlined?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Talbot makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Ireland seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed, motion passes unanimously. Next, under new business, number 4, confirmation of approval to award Rock Communications to install a backup analog radio communication systems on north and south towers for $31,101.39 and to procure new generators for both towers. Again, I'll ask the administrator if he will walk us through this one, please.
This is a contract that I approved 2 weeks ago under the emergency proclamation. We did receive 3 bids, as is normal, and this was the lowest bid. This will simply establish a non-internet dependent backup system using our 2 original towers. We would be able to simply switch a channel on our new radios to use this emergency backup. In the case of this system, we would also be able to control the generated power at the 2 towers. They would be up to us to maintain. This would make us less dependent on others. We're a little risk adverse when it comes to power outages and storms now. So we believe that this would be a very important backup system, and it would be well worth the county's expenditure of money. That's all.
A couple of questions. The 31,000 plus, where would that come from in the budget?
The 31,000 right now, I believe, should come from the plutonium funds for law enforcement, because this would be the backup radio system for the county.
Okay. And on those 2 towers, what kind of coverage would that give you as a backup? I realize it's just a backup, but what kind of coverage would it give you?
There might be slight improvements over the existing radio, but this is basically the existing radio system that we use now countywide. There are a few areas in Meriwether where our existing radio does not work very well, which has always been an issue. But overall, it will reach pretty much the whole county. So there's no like large swaths of areas where our current radio system can't reach. He said analog, but this is actually a switch to a digital system. So there could be some slight adjustments in terms of signal strength, but it worked fine during the hurricane. I think the sheriff's radio went down for an hour or so, but everything got right back up, and that was a generator issue, not a radio issue. So altogether, it works great for a backup. We're not trying to compete or compare to the new system that we're putting in.
All right. So if a storm hit like Helene did, the system would be up and usable for those 2 towers.
So just so you have a clear understanding, the new system works a lot like a cell phone signal works. You have 4 towers broadcasting simultaneously, and your radio basically gets a signal. If one tower goes down, the other 3 are still broadcasting to cover it. However, that system requires an internet connection for them to all speak at the same time. So in an event like Helene, where internet was lost for the entire county, not just one area where one tower would be located, the new system will go down because it won't have a connection to the other towers. They will have some ability to speak over a single tower, but obviously that's not going to be useful in an emergency like that. So this system would allow them to just switch on their radio to the emergency backup, and our old system, which will be updated, which is what we're doing, will then kick in and they can use their radios per normal.
Okay. Questions or comments from council?
I see all 3. Do y'all have any?
Much needed, the storm proved that it's needed, this is a good, can I use the word redundant, this is a redundant backup for everybody to have in case of the worst. I'm all in that part.
And the important thing to note is this is not costing us it's not like we're paying for a new radio system. we're using our existing antennas, our existing towers. We're just updating some of the equipment. And then, obviously, we need to work on our generators a little bit.
And this would also improve that issue where we did lose it for that hour, because we will increase the battery capacity at those sites. So even if the generator goes down, it can give us a longer time period that the radios can stay up and going on battery power, and that we could fix the generator or come up with some solution to that problem.
Questions or comments from council? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to award Rock Communications this contract for this new system, or this new refurbishment of the system? I
So
guess I would
moved.
say. Mr. Moody makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And Dr. Kenyon seconds.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed, the motion passes unanimously. And then finally, under new business, consideration of approval to purchase 3 Zoll Series X cardiac monitors for a total of $114,224.34 for EMS, and replacement for office furniture in the administration office for $12,185, with the remaining American Rescue Plan funds. Again, I'll ask the administrator for some details, please.
So we are asking council to approve this request tonight that will meet our requirement to obligate the remaining American Rescue Plan funds by December 31st. The bulk of the money would go to EMS for cardiac monitors, and I think you see from the presentation, these things are costly. So this will be one way we can go ahead and replace some of this equipment with these remaining funds. And as for the office furniture, it's not for my office. My office is equipped nicely, but some of the office desk and file cabinets and all are just falling apart in administration, so they need to be replaced. That's all.
And if I'm not mistaken, for the American Rescue Plan funds, if we approve this, that kind of zeroes everything out. I mean, we've got almost no money left in that fund, right?
That's correct. That's correct. And just to be safe that we have authorized all of the funds, this actually overshoots it a small amount. We do have some furnishings money in the budget to cover, you know, if we're low, but we wanted to make sure that we did things correctly and authorized all the remaining funds for December 31st.
And to remind council, right after COVID, the U.S. government doled out all this money, and state may have too, but everybody got a pot of money, and we got whatever it was. I don't remember the total now. Was it $5 million?
Around $5 million.
I think it's 5.1 or 2, but $5 million. And the stipulation when we got it in 2022, I think, that you have to spend it by 2026, and you have to obligate it by the end of 2024. So you had to obligate it by the end of December. So we're not going to have any of that money left because we can't. We had to spend it up to this, and we've been spending it off and on for 2 years. So we're doing a good job spreading it out. There are some counties that spend it all at one time. And they have one thing to show for it, and I think we have many things to show for it, and not just a communication system. But anyway, so just to remind council, so that means we don't have that money anymore, is what that means. So, questions or comments from council?
I'm glad to see we're getting these cardiac machines.
Okay. If there are no other questions or comments, is there approval to purchase the items that are listed on the agenda?
So moved.
Okay, Ms. Ireland makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Talbot seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed, motion passes unanimously. All right, that ends new business, council. So next on the agenda is comments from the public, the second comment period.
No, sir.
And the clerk says we have no one signed up for that, so I will close that public comment period, and we'll move to reports from county council members. Are there any reports from a county council member tonight?
Well, Mr. Albert and I, we serve on COG together, and we had a very good presentation at our last meeting just a couple Mondays ago, and DOT had several representatives there, spoke to us about the cleanup effort, and explained to us that the goal is to finish the cleanup by Christmas, so they fall within the 90-day, the 60 days, so they can get the 90%, hopefully 100% FEMA reimbursement. If they go outside of that, then it drops to 75. However, when they were pushed on the subject, they pointedly asked, will it be done by Christmas? There was a blank stare and laughter. So what we came away with was, don't expect the debris to be cleaned up by Christmas. And it was further explained to us that most of the crews that have been contracted with South Carolina, we've talked about this, I relayed all this, and y'all probably already knew this though, but most of the contractors that have been contracted to clean up the debris are not even in South Carolina yet. They're still in North Carolina, Georgia, Florida. We were the last to get noticed, and so we were the last. They're coming in. We have been advised there are crews now, but the bulk of those crews still have not come here. And so we are hopeful to see the trees off the road by Christmas, but don't hold your breath. It's pretty much what that was kind of what we were told. And so just wanted to share that, because I know I've gotten people, when are they coming? Have they already come and they didn't get this? And just wanted to share what Mr. Albert and I were told, among other things. But that was the big thing that seemed to be of most concern for most constituents. It's not a fast process. It's going to be lengthy. So.
Any other reports?
Early voting was a huge success down at Sweetwater. We had 4,383 people vote there, 3,961 voted in Edgefield. Everybody I spoke to, the other people, very thankful for opening Sweetwater. It was well appreciated. Had a couple of hiccups. We won't talk about those, but it was a big success.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Then I will turn it over to the administrator for his report.
Thank you. So Councilwoman Ireland touched on part of my debris removal statement, but I will share that there are, as she said, very few debris contractors in Edgefield County. Last week there were 5 trucks and trailer units, 4 working state roads and 1 working county roads. And that's probably a fair ratio based on the mileage of roads. We were told that they would have chainsaws and they would cut things up into loadable lengths. I was a little skeptical of that, and that was proven correct. Ultimately, when the larger numbers of debris contractors come into the area, they will be able to do that. But if you would like your debris picked up sooner, having things cut into 10-foot or less lengths will probably ensure that they don't pass you by and come back on a second pass to get it. We get these little blurbs of guidance randomly, but that makes sense, because if you've seen the trucks out there, it's usually one person with a loader. There's no chainsaw crew there. So we also have FEMA representatives. They're set up at the Scout Hut on Penn Street, 312 Penn Street, helping residents with disaster relief applications. They will be there until November 18th, and they're there from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. The Law Enforcement Center should be complete by the end of the month. It will be open for public tours in December. We're going to announce those dates. And we hope to be able to announce some of these things later this week or early next week. And it should be open for business in January. As council might recall, there are various county buildings that will be vacated by the move to the new Law Enforcement Center. So there's quite a few things to move, and then we'll have to turn to those buildings and talk about what to do with them. We've had some of those conversations before. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, questions or comments for the administrator? Okay, hearing none, thank you. And then I guess we'll end with my report. So first, I do want to congratulate all of council for being returned to office for another 2 years. I look forward to all of us continuing to work together. As you know, we're meeting a week later than usual, so with Thanksgiving on the way and the December meeting will be here before you know it, I just want to point out that you heard the administrator's presentation on EMS, and I encourage all of council to continue to dive into this issue, since we'll have more discussion at the next meeting on ways we could fund an EMS that is obviously in need. I also want to point out that tomorrow night, the Edgefield County Legislative Delegation is meeting right here at 6 o'clock. I've been asked to give an update from the county, so I'll be doing that. And there are many good things to discuss with them, and I hope some of you will be able to attend. So, council, that's all I have. Being no other business to conduct tonight, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Dr. Kenyon makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second?
And Mr. Ireland seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed, motion passes unanimously. Thank you.